Hello everyone, and welcome back to Misfits Racing League action. Of course, it is race day, and we are here for round 3, Tier 2, and it's none other than the one we, I think, have all been highly anticipating. It is the dreaded, for most, Vietnam Grand Prix. The first time we're ever seeing this league race, especially for MRL action, with full damage, strict corner cutting in a league setting. So, joining me as always for the Tier 2 casts, none other than George, aka Unicorn. How are you doing today, Unicorn?
I am beyond excited for this race. In Vietnam, like you said, it's dreaded by a lot of people in the new game. We've got 23 turns and a lot of wolves. Let's just put it that way. I think we're going to see not only a lot of wing damage, but a lot of safety cars here this evening. Because this track's new. You know, we haven't even seen it raced IRL in the F1 series, so...
No, we have not. And of course, you can see the circuit now on screen. There it is. That very, very long Sector 2 straight section. DRS halfway up. Oh, that is going to be a very interesting sight to see, of course, in this one. That is for, of course, round 3 in Vietnam. We still have many rounds left of MRL racing action. We have 2 tiers, and soon to be, for those of you that are just tuning in, an EU division starting on Tuesdays, but more info to come out about that in the coming weeks. If you're interested in driving in that division for MRL, check us out on Discord. But of course, we have next up next week the Chinese Grand Prix, followed by Zandvoort. Then we go to Spain, Monaco, Baku in Azerbaijan, Canada, go to France, Austria, and then we move into the second leg of our season where we kick things off in Silverstone, where we saw our racers do a 100% endurance race this previous Saturday ahead of the Grand Prix. And now this weekend we're going to be seeing some more Silverstone action for the Formula One World Championship for the 70th anniversary Grand Prix as well. So super excited how things go second time round there this season. But of course, Hungary, Spa, we have Italy as well, Singapore, Russia, Japan, the US, Mexico, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi. And now we have a driver change today as well. We also have Mr. Little Bear retaking an MRL position on a full-time roster. Welcome back to the league, my friend. You are, of course, going to be taking Mr. Sensorless's seat over at McLaren with Skybits today. Kai Bacchini, as usual, with Jay, who has now won 2 races. A2K and Yasko over at Ferrari, Gadwin and Liam for Red Bull, Jackass and Undertaker at Renault, with Juicebox and Wisp at AlphaTauri, Bravo and Itzmax at Racing Point, Maxim and Cjoss at Alfa Romeo, with, of course, Crampy and Max Inkster, the dynamic duo that is the Haas team for Tier 2, taking up those seats, with Domi and Squid over at Williams. Now, real quick before we jump into this one, let's take a look at the standings. For all of you, Bravo, Juicebox, and Gadwin have each been promoted 1 place due to penalties served. Domi was demoted 1 place, and Squid demoted 2 places as a result of post-race penalties, therefore promoting those 3 other drivers. See there, Jay leading the constructor or the championship with 50 points. Crampy in second, and Wisp rounding off your top 3 with 18 points, tied with Cjoss. As well as the constructors, it's Mercedes, Alfa Romeo, followed by Haas in the top 3 right now. So that is extremely, extremely interesting to see. And you can see all the way up and down, first 2 into 14th position standings. You know, everyone scored points up into that point, and then we have 15th down who have yet to score any points. But I have a feeling things are going to be extremely intense. Jump ahead into this seat now, as I think just about ready to jump into this lobby here. Getting everything readied up. We are going to be into this racing action in just a few moments' time. Any predictions for this race, Unicorn? Or is it just
a lot of broken
excitement?
front wings? A lot of broken front wings. That's all I can say. That's the only thing I know for certain. Especially out of that last corner, turn 23. That wall is gonna claim a lot of front wings, and I think if it goes poorly, then we could see a safety car coming out of there.
I think a safety car here in Vietnam is extremely likely, because for any of those of you that have driven it, you'll know there really isn't a lot of runoff area. It is very much a street circuit in the sense that it's quite confined. You will think of Singapore, you will think of Baku, and of course none other than the iconic Monaco. You're going to be thinking of those tight street circuits here for this one, as I think we have all of our races in, or are we just waiting on one last?
I think it's, I don't know. I don't think Sadist here is in the lobby as a driver.
Oh.
So
Yeah, so we're just waiting on a few more things to get sorted out ahead of this race. We want to make sure everything is nice and set up for you guys. We want to have a nice full grid for you. It is going to be minimum, I can guarantee you, minimum 19 drivers beginning this race. So, quite keen to see how things go on the way down to turn 1. And I'm also quite keen to see how things are going to go for these racers in qualifying, because it is a 18-minute short qualifying session, full damage, and another big wrench that can get thrown into this one is the fact that it is, of course, dynamic weather.
yeah, I mean, I think as well, obviously turn 1 is quite tight. Everything's pretty slow through there. I think the run down to turn 6 as well after that first fairly long straight is going to be a curious one. So
We are now 4 past race start here. I'm not entirely sure what's happening with the drivers, but if they're not ready, then they're not ready.
I don't know if the Sadist might actually be a reserve. Let's see. Let me have a check. What?
Well, it's 5 past. Start the lobby.
We're trying to get. There's a glitch here where we got Sadist here, who is a driver, and it says he's banned from the lobby, so he's not getting in here. Which
If he's been kicked from the lobby, he will not be able to rejoin the lobby. So, if we need to restart it to get him in, I suggest we do that very quickly. I will be just a moment.
okay. Oh no,
Sorry for the delay.
Hennes has told me to just start. Hennes told me to just start.
Just start. Unfortunately, not much we can do about that situation. Make sure you're in the spectator role there before you get in, or you're gonna get thrown into a car. Yeah, not much we can do about that. Of course, we try to get the lobby started 20 minutes early or 15 minutes early so that we can avoid these things. And if you're late or there's a bug, this league is run strict. 5 past start time now. Everybody can ready up.
There we go. We're all ready to get in then.
Fantastic. Sorry for the delays, everybody. We just want to make sure we get you the best grid we can for this race. I think we have a full 20 driver grid.
19 on my timing tower.
Oh, I was not entirely sure, but of course now we are into Hanoi Unicorn for the first ever league race for MRL around this circuit. And I am beyond excited for this one. Get things doing.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. Obviously, there's a lot of tight sections where overtaking is limited, but you've got that huge straight, which is sort of separated by turn 10. But we're going to see plenty of overtakes there. Obviously, ERS management is going to be absolutely critical around here because you can't just blast it on every single lap down that straight. Otherwise, you know, you'd be out by lap 2. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays a part, as well as obviously DRS as well. So we're definitely going to see, if we didn't already see pockets forming in other tracks, we're definitely going to see them here.
As none of these drivers have yet left the pit lane, I'm not entirely sure if we have any kind of weather report that we've had an opportunity to get yet. And I just want to give a big shout out to all of you who have been supporting us here for the stream. It's right, I'm being told to turn myself up. How are we now? Are we good now? How's this? Give me a mic check. 1 2 1 2. Bombtastic, thank you for the follow. Neon Rays, I appreciate the subscription. Is it better or is it good?
It looks like, who is that in the Haas? That Max Ingster is the first out onto the track.
How about now in the stream? Should be good now.
Everyone, at the moment, apart from Undertaker, opting for the soft compound tyres around here.
Max Ingster, always that first driver out of that pit lane, Unicorn, wanting that camera time coming down that long Sector 2 straight here. You can really get a sense of how long it is now, only halfway down getting that DRS.
Yeah, I think it's just under a mile long, that straight, 0.9 miles, which is absolutely incredible. It's not quite the longest straight on the F1 calendar, but obviously with turn 10 sort of there, it sort of breaks it up a little bit, so they can't quite claim that achievement here in Vietnam.
I believe the lap times we're going to be looking for around here are going to be, I think it's a 134 to 132 average around here for quali. I could be mistaken. Again, first time we're going to be seeing these drivers around here. As Max Ingster, your first driver to start a flyer here in Hanoi, making his way down into turn 1, dropping it all the way down into that second gear, even further into first, back up into second. And I imagine a lot of these racers have been practicing as well, considering they didn't have any time on this the way they did the other circuits, you know, from last game. It's entirely new. Ooh, and there is a contact. That is Max Ingster and Juicebox coming together on this flyer, and that's Max Ingster being tapped on the rear. Juicebox is flying as well, so that's two drivers flying down into turn. I'm not entirely sure about what turn that was, but that was extremely questionable, and I'm very happy that we were able to catch that on the cast, because the stewards are going to be looking at that big time. Wisp on a flyer in the AlphaTauri. He scored himself a solid chunk of points last week in Bahrain, and he'll be looking to repeat that performance here today, I'm sure.
Yeah, one thing as well I think we're going to see here is Max Ingster is going to set the first lap of the session. Although, there we go, a little bit of delay, a 137.7, but a 136.1 from Juicebox behind him. But going back to what I was saying, that one thing I think we're going to see here is people trying to find overtaking spots that maybe they haven't had the opportunity to try out. Obviously, not a lot of racing has ever happened around here. That's an Alfa Romeo. And Sijos into the wall out of turn 1.
As you said earlier in the pre-show there, Unicorn, we're going to be seeing a lot of those end plates and damaged wings coming through here, and we've seen a few end plates already here in the qualifying. Wisp coming across. You can see now we have 9 drivers who have set times so far. Maxim B on provisional pole position with his teammate right behind him. The Alfa Romeo is looking quite strong. 134.592 is that pole time at the moment, and you see Crampy now, the Haas driver, jumping onto the front row with a 134.7. Very quick from the young Haas indeed. As his teammate, of course, we had him have that issue early on. Jack S on an outlap now. Who else can we find flying? And this is Robbo now in the Racing Point. Rounding the final few turns, you can see struggling out of that final turn there. He's going to cross, only good enough for 12th with a 137.9.
Yes, Squid's just avoided his flying lap as well in the Williams, so a lot of people not really getting to grips with the track just yet. You can see the disparity of the times, and that's what comes with a new circuit. You know, very few of these drivers will have had much more practice than any others, other than just how much time they dedicated over the last few weeks or so, because it's not even been in any other sims, I don't believe, this track, because it's so new, not only to F1, but just the world in general, I guess, because it was built this year. So really no experience outside of this new 2020 game, so pretty level playing field then for everyone tonight.
Yeah, and Jack S on a flyer through Sector 2 now. He's coming down the long straight section here, and he is missing an end plate at the moment on that Renault. However, I think he is going to carry on through the lap because he wants to get at least a banker time in. It's that 1.5-minute average lap time around here, so not a massive amount of time to get a lap in the same way you would see, for example, in, let's say, Austria, where it's a quick lap round.
Yeah, and obviously the short qualifying doesn't really adjust for that. It stays 18 minutes regardless. So, like you said, he's just going to have to roll with this damage and hope that he can get a replacement in and on time. He's going to come across the line. Now, what's it going to be? A 137.3. So he's not the slowest. He's just behind his teammate who set a time on medium tyres, I do believe.
Skybits now in the McLaren. He's coming out of Sector 1. He's set a purple Sector 1, and he's just coming through that little hairpin roundabout turn, if you will, at the end of that straight section there. And coming down through Sector 2. I apologize, as I have not really hammered down the turn numbers and names yet, but Skybits coming down into the hairpin at the end of the Sector 2 straight.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, the new track's not only new for them, but it's new for us as well. So I don't know if there are any corner names, but there's 23 corners for us to try and get right here. So
it is
for us as well.
It is quite a lengthy circuit, a lot of twisting, turning. It's you know, it's surprising considering you have 23 turns, except the entirety of Sector 2 is pretty well a straight. So that really puts that into perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And they had to add a corner, if I'm not mistaken, into Sector 3. So it was only a 22 turn track, but it was too unsafe, so they had to add an extra corner. I'm not quite sure which one it is, but I know it's in Sector 3.
Skybits getting that 4th position. Now getting pushed back. Who was that just jumped ahead?
That was Liam in the Red Bull. 134.8 from him.
Nicely done from him. He's been looking for a solid result. Not having the season start I'm sure he wanted to have, considering he is the reigning Tier 2 champion. Moen crossing only good enough for a 137.677. I think he took a little bit of damage there on that front right, and he did. You see Yasko in the Ferrari flying out of Sector 1 now.
Kai Bacchini as well, he's flying. He's just set a fastest Sector 2. If the game is to believe, we have seeing a few glitches in terms of fastest Sector 2s, but we have seen him perform very strongly at the start of the season in qualifying. His races haven't been quite up to the same standard, but he is rounding the final corner here in that Mercedes, and it's going to be a 1:33.9
Wow.
from the Mercedes, sub 1:34, 6
Wow.
tenths clear of anyone else on the circuit right now.
1:33.9, absolutely superb lap out of the Mercedes camp from Kai Bacchini. 6, almost 7 tenths up on the current second position driver. Of course, 7 minutes remaining in quali, and as that timer ticks down, the circuit will get faster. But there is a lot of traffic out right now. We're going to see if we can find somebody that is on a valid flying lap, and I am going to jump back on over to Yasko here.
Yeah, he was dealing with a little bit of traffic there, and obviously the circuit in places is so narrow as well, it can be just a little bit difficult to not only get past, but also get out of the way as he taps both the inside and the outside walls. But he still goes 13th with a 1:36.5.
That final turn costing a lot of drivers here in quali so far. We've seen a lot of end plates coming out of that turn in that lap. Yasko now on a cooldown as the grid is filled with people on flyers. Juicebox on another flyer. 1:36.1 the current time, looking to beat that.
Maxime B as well. He looks like he's just behind his previous best, currently sitting in second position. And he's going to come across the line. It's a slight improvement, but it's nowhere near enough to dethrone Kai Bacchini there, who is currently in provisional pole by a mile.
DRS open for the AlphaTauri now, coming through sector 2 into the hairpin, dropping it down to first. Fairly clean exit from the AlphaTauri. Good on the power there. Purple sector 2 for Wisp as well, or excuse me, Juicebox. Of course, Wisp is his teammate that he's looking to jump ahead of.
And Sejos, he's gone again. He's improved. He's up into 4th place now. I think he's now on a cooldown lap, but not too bad from the Alfa Romeo. Him and his teammate have been pretty strong at the opening of this season, so another strong performance, it looks like, here at Hanoi.
Solid lap from Juicebox as well. Almost a second improvement. That last turn, once again, costing him a great deal, bashing that inside, and then again, as we've seen, to that outside. A double whammy for those end plates. You can see no longer on the AlphaTauri, and I guarantee you that had cost him potentially even as close as a P5 here. But you see now P7 for the AlphaTauri driver. Rampy on a flyer in the Haas, just coming through sector 3 now.
And flying he is, he's 3 tenths up through sector 2 compared to his previous best, which could be enough to knock Maxime B off of the front row here. It is indeed just about a 1:34.3 from the Haas there.
Just quite nice lap from Crampy as well, who we have seen on the podium already this season for Haas. Strong season from him so far. Jay, who we have seen this season take 2 wins, and if I'm being absolutely honest, considering the qualifying that he had in Australia, I don't think I would have seen him coming out of that race with a win. But he did, after his teammate Kai, who was on pole position through that one, unable to finish the race. Jay picked up the bags and went to the finish, and he got the win for the Mercedes team. Now in Bahrain, he did the same, and here we are for the 3rd time. Can he make it 3 in a row? Of course, that is what he'll be looking to do today. But I'm sure for a lot of these racers, this race is going to be a little bit less about overtaking and a little bit more about finishing the race, considering how difficult it has been for some of these racers here in qualifying so far.
Yeah, I think people could maybe take it a little bit safe, you know, might be backing out of a few fights that they might have taken had they know the track better. But like you said, we've seen Jay win 2 races, and he's proven that he can be consistent. So if he can just lap without getting damage, I think he's again another strong contender. But currently sitting 14th, he's not in the best position to take another win, but we've seen that hasn't deterred him before.
Now Jack S, instead of finishing his lap, he has come in. Now, who else is on a flyer right now? Liam into the pit lane. Skybits could be beginning a flying lap coming out of Sector 1. That fuel light is on. He could be on his in lap.
Another thing worth mentioning as well is that if there is, you know, a need for a lot of pit stops, if you're not too confident in your ability to get around this circuit without damaging that front wing, especially with other drivers on the track, you might want to preserve a couple of sets of tyres that maybe you would use typically in a short 18-minute qualifying session in the event of either a self-crashing and you have to come into the pits, or a safety car caused by someone else crashing. So strategy is going to play a big part in tonight's race, and it might not be something that everyone's been able to get to grips with, because testing strategy can take quite a while.
Well, it's hard to do strategy testing. I mean, I have participated in some of these practice races for the Vietnam circuit. I did a few ahead of my league season for another league I participated in called PPR, and in those league practices, if you will, it was no damage, no safety car, and it's very hard to strategize when you don't have those elements in play, because when you enter that league race, they are in play. So you go in with one mentality, and then next thing you know, a safety car is coming out, and it throws everything that you've planned for out the window. And I like that, because it makes things a little more dynamic. It comes and questions your knowledge of the game and the pace on certain tires, and it really kind of questions how much time you've put into learning the circuit. So I think we're going to be seeing a little bit of that today. I think there's going to be a clear-cut difference between who's practiced and who hasn't, especially in Hanoi.
Yeah, and I think what you mentioned there is key. Like, how well do you know the different tire compounds? Because if you don't know how well a certain tire compound can last, you might switch to the wrong tire under a safety car, because obviously you got to know what is the optimum tire for that moment. If you pit too early for mediums under a safety car and you can't go to the end on them, that could cost you. Or if you pit too late for hards, then that could cost you on time. So definitely going to be interesting to see how this race pans out come the checkered flag, as qualifying is over here and there's just a few people left on track ready to set lap times.
And as we are getting ready to look at how things finalize on this grid, I just want to take a quick moment to remind all of you, again, we appreciate you viewing. We appreciate all of your support. If you're new, hit that follow button, because we're live here every Thursday and soon on Tuesdays as well for all of our friends over in that European time zone. We're going to be having some league racing for that region as well, starting on Tuesdays with an entirely new grid. And on top of that, of course, we have Tier 1 racing later this evening. So we have 2 Vietnam races for you today. And, of course, make sure you grab that popcorn, get your friends, grab those racers that you like to hang with, and jump on into the stream, because we're about to have a very, very interesting race, Unicorn.
Yeah, Kai Bacchini, is he going to improve? He loses his end plate, he's not going to improve. He was on for a flying lap, a better flying lap, should I say, up until that last corner. So there we are. That's a little bit unfortunate from him, but he's still holding on to pole at the moment. Maxime B has improved, but just a hair's whisker away from pole. About a 10th there off of Kai Bacchini's time. That bumps Crampy down to 3rd. Funky J, he sets the 4th fastest time so far in this session. And he gets bumped down by Sejos, who goes 3rd with a 1:34.2. Liam, though, he could be dangerous. He's 3/10 up at the moment on his previous best. This could put him into the top 5. He comes across the line. He's 4th with a 1:34.2. Just shy of Seajustice's time there, but he will be starting alongside him on the second row, it appears.
Not really sure what happened with Squid this session. He didn't set a time.
I do believe he might have been reserving those tyres. I've spoken to him a little bit regarding his strategy for the race, and he did say he was going to be out very little in qualifying.
Very little. He hasn't been out. He hasn't been out anything. He hasn't done any runs in the circuit.
A very risky strategy from the Williams there.
I would definitely say so, considering a lot of these drivers have been struggling around here. Now, as things tick down, we're just waiting on, I think, the last few drivers here. Who's this? Skybits. Skybits is on a flyer. And he's going to be coming up on some traffic. That's Jay's Mercedes here. Oh, and that's not good at all. Because you see now, all of these drivers have crossed the checkered flag here. And lost control of their vehicle. So Skybit's not able to improve.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the AI doesn't get out of the way in this situation, but it is going to cost Skybits. He's still going to start 8th, which isn't terrible for the McLaren, but maybe he could have done better. So
I'm not entirely sure what it is we are waiting for here. As it may just be waiting for that car of Skybits to pull off to the side. Very, very odd. But Ibachini on pole position in the Mercedes.
We've seen him there before. Yes. Can he convert it this time?
Yeah, let's hope he can. So that's Kai Bacchini on pole position. Maxim B lining up on the front row. Next to him, Sijos in 3rd. His teammate, it's a 2-3 for Alfa Romeo. Liam in 4th, the other Canadian. So it's a Canadian 2-4. Hey, as a Canadian, I have to say, definitely happy about that. Crampy in 5th, Little Bear 6th, Jay in 7th, Skybits in 8th, Undertaker in 9th, and I can't say I got that last name there, in 10th. I think it may have been Jackass, if I wasn't completely double check that. It was Juicebox, excuse me. So, very gloomy weather here in Vietnam. See, not a lot of sunshine, but no wet weather.
If we had a wet race, or at least half of a wet race, that would be absolutely incredible action. If we saw drivers have to try and contemplate whether or not to switch over to intermediates or not. What a race that would have been.
Thank you, Mr. Strat, for the raid. Appreciate that. Welcome to the broadcast, everybody. For those of you that are new, of course, this is Misfits Racing League Tier 2 action for Season 3. And, well, it is about to begin for Vietnam. My name is Strifium. Joining me, as always, Unicorn. And we have Tier 1 racing beginning in just about an hour and a half. So, can't wait for that either, as we get away on this formation lap.
Yeah, and I think this first lap that we're about to witness in 2 minutes' time or so is going to be one to remember.
Yes, everybody, don't blink, because it's going to be a very interesting case, and I think Unicorn, perhaps, I'll let you take us through that. I'll pass the baton to you for that race start. We have 10 drivers, all of those that qualified outside of the top 10. Only 2 of them are starting on the softs. That's Max Inkster and Robbo. All of the other racers on the mediums. You can see there the 2 Williams racers at the back, followed by, well, right behind the 2 Racing Point racers of Moen and Robbo. And then at the front, we have Kai Bacchini, Maxim, Sijos, Liam, Crampy, Little Bear, Jay, Skybits, Undertaker, and Adrian, rounding off your top 10 with A2K, Wisp, Gadwin, Jackass, and then Max Inkster in 15th. And then Yasko there in 16th in the Ferrari with the 2 racing points and the 2 Williams to bring up the rear.
Now the in-game graphics there showing 2 pit stop strategies, both 2 stops, soft, medium, soft I believe was one, and soft, medium, medium was the other. Both of those rather interesting, neither suggesting any use of the hard compound tyre. Whether we'll see that brought out if there's a fairly early safety car or not, we'll have to wait and see, but it doesn't look like we'll be seeing any one-stops, although the game doesn't believe that you can do a one-stop for soft mediums around Australia, and that is possible, so potentially a soft hard could work, or a medium hard for those outside the top 10.
Cabicini quite far ahead of this grid right now on this formation lap, but yes, I do agree with you, Unicorn. The tire strategies that the game provides and the tire strategies that are actually realistic for these racers, given the tire wear, are somewhat at odds, if you will. Tires not lasting as long as the graphics in some cases, and sometimes the opposite, but of course it's up to these racers to practice and figure out these things for themselves, run those cars on heavy fuel in practice sessions, figure out what kind of weight distribution those tires are getting and how that impacts with the wear. As it is time, Unicorn. We are on this grid.
Alright then, there are the red lights. All 5 are lit, and it's lights out, and away we go, but no one appears to be moving off of the grid right now.
And that is a decent car or a jump start, I am not sure, but of course that is the cars away.
Off the line, Cabicini very strong. We've got Sejas up the outside of his teammate. He's going to get the inside into turn 2. You've got Crampy behind. He's up 1 position. Jay currently holding on to, or up to 5th. He's had a little bit of a slow exit out of the right-hander. That's caused those behind him to sort of bunch up. You've got Liam in the Red Bull there. He's slipstreaming, trying to get past the Mercedes. You've got McLaren of Bear there. He's under threat from Undertaker up the inside into turn 6. And that's Liam. He's very wide after the entrance of that corner. That's going to cost him a lot of positions. He's dropped behind the Renault and the 2 McLarens. Speaking of those 2 McLarens, Skybits, he's held on to 8th position so far, but he's around his teammate for 7th place. And it looks like that was a fairly clean start to this Grand Prix. As 7th place still off the debate, and into the hairpin they go. A little bit of touching between the 2 McLarens. That's cost the Red Bull of Liam yet more problems as they all sort of stack into turn 11 there.
Very tight in the rear of this grid right now. You see those 2 Williams drivers that started at the rear into 15th and 16th. Now you got Moen in 17th there, but he's been separated from his teammate. Robbo's dropped into 20th on those softs, so I'm hoping he doesn't need to go in for an early pit because that's going to hurt him big time. But of course, this grid, the timing tower, not currently synchronized, but as all of these racers cross now, you see Kai back into the lead as he sets that first fastest lap. And we're still seeing a big separation here. Max Inkster has been, unfortunately, lagged out of this game. Sejas having to pass by. Of course, ghosting is disabled in these league races, so that car is going to drop through this grid like a stone, and all of the cars coming at the rear are going to have to move through and overtake Genuine here. Of course, the AI isn't at the default. It is raised here in these races, so that AI isn't extremely dangerous. But of course, Undertaker on the inside of Skybits here. He is defending from the McLaren. The McLaren gets through into the Sector 2 straight. Very nicely done from Sky into 7th position. As it's very hard to follow through on overtaking, considering the timing tower doesn't want to update itself. But it is now Jackass in a fight for 15th, wheel to wheel, with the Williams of Squid coming down into the hairpin. How's it going to go? That's Jackass out in front of the Williams now. Losing a ton of speed there is Squid on the outside, and that is a car off on, who is that? That is Max Inkster outside of the hairpin here. He is pulled off, and I am not entirely sure if he is still in control of that car or not, or what we're seeing come across for the unfortunate Haas this race, but his teammate, on the other hand, doing quite well in 4th position at the moment. That's Crampy, of course. Jay, not too far from him. Seajoss setting the fastest lap here so far, a 139.1.
Yeah, what an exciting opening lap. Undertaker got back past the McLaren of Skybits. Just going into Sector 3 there, and we've got Liam coming into the pits. Undertaker a little bit sideways through Turn 2. That's allowed that McLaren of Skybits to get very much closer, and DRS is enabled now. And the rear wing on that McLaren is open, and he should just fly past into the run down to Turn 6. And fly past he does there, the number 4 taking that position. And I should think we're going to see these two jostle for that 6th place.
Oh, but maybe not. You see there, Undertaker struggling coming onto the straight. He lost the rear a little bit, and that's going to open up an opportunity for Skybits' teammate, Little Bear. Now within half a second of Undertaker, he has the DRS. He's burning through that battery right now. But Undertaker also, he has the DRS on Skybits as well. Going into the hairpin. He's on the outside. Unicorn, it's wheel to wheel through the hairpin right now. Skybits giving Undertaker a little squeeze there to ensure he maintains that 6th position. And Little Bear, as these two are going to begin fighting, is going to have an opportunity to perhaps either overtake Undertaker or even both of them.
Looking at the way that Renault is performing, I think Undertaker might be running a little bit of a risky setup here. He absolutely annihilates the McLaren of Skybits on the straights. His ERS management as well is much better, so he's not having to use as much of that to stay here. But around the corners, like you saw through Turn 7 there, he can get a bit wayward, so it happened through Turn 2 as well. So I think his downforce setup is much more catered towards that long straight, but through the corners he might struggle here, so tyre degradation is going to be absolutely critical for that Renault as he comes under a little bit of threat. You can see through the corners here from Little Bear in the other McLaren, but as they go back onto the straight, DRS enabled for both cars. What's going to happen to that gap? You can see Little Bear dropping off, and I think that Renault is running ridiculous amounts of low downforce.
Let's see how Undertaker goes through this section here. We saw him slide that rear a little bit last time around, and very gentle through that turn this time. Still within a second of Skybits, as this little DRS train has formed behind the McLaren. But he's going to have a good run with that DRS, and Skybits is under huge threat here. That is Undertaker moving ahead of the McLaren into the hairpin. Up the inside, Skybits is going to get the switchback. He had a solid look. The exit's looking good. Undertaker, though, he's got a lot of power. Ooh, and Skybits has to slow right down for that Renault. Heading through into this S's section of the circuit.
Yeah, very similar run into Turn 11 there, but this time Undertaker taking that inside line, and you can see how much easier that makes that corner in terms of overtaking, as Robbo picks up what I believe is the first time penalty in the session. But Undertaker, he's looking pretty strong right now if he can nail these corners. But his pace on the straights is absolutely brilliant, and his ERS, like I was saying, is much higher than Skybits. He also tore away from Little Bear in the 55 McLaren.
That is going to be Yasko on extreme down into turn 1 on the inside. DRS, of course, allowing him to make a smooth move. Will Extreme have an opportunity to make a switchback? And you can see now Jack S and Juicebox fighting in this fight for 12th position. So a couple battles right now to move up the grid.
Oh, and Little Bear very sideways out of what I believe is turn 9 there. And that's going to cost him time. He should still be able to get DRS to recover. And that's going to be on his teammate Skybits, who's going for the move. Yet again, this time he's the one behind, run down into that 10-11 hairpin. Up the inside, exactly what Undertaker pulled on him. But Undertaker, he could have the cutback here.
Wow.
And that is absolutely beautiful defensive racing from the Renault. But he's not clear yet. Skybits has a lot of pace coming out of that corner, but he's just not going to get there in time for turn 13. But that has led his teammate Little Bear to catch right back up to the rear of the other McLaren. And A2K as well, he's sort of lurking in the background of this fight, so...
Jackass has just made a move on Juicebox in this SS section, and it looks like Juicebox struggling. He's missing that front right end plate, and that is Yasko. Very fast, making a move through the S's on that AlphaTauri. Very nicely done from the Ferrari, keeping it very clean. Was Yasko there. That was, well, I think the word that's going to sum that up was that was pretty beast from the Ferrari, driving Leclerc's car today. Now, I did want to say one thing. Of course, we're on board with these McLarens quite a bit, and for those of you wondering why, I mean, you can always just picture it being Mr. Sainz or, of course, Lando Norris. As it is Skybits on Undertaker once again here, this time on the outside.
He's going to get the inside into turn 7, though. Is he going to be able to carry enough speed, though, compared to the Renault, who's going to get a better exit into the next corner?
Meanwhile, his teammate is under major threat from some medium-running Scuderia Ferrari power right now. Could it be a double overtake down the straight for both of these racers, the Ferrari and Skybits now fighting? Oh, and Little Bear's getting through, and what's he doing? He's going to go through and get ahead of the Renault into the hairpin. What a carry of speed from the McLaren, but again, like last lap, it's going to be the Renault that gets out on the exit, and now Skybits has dropped back behind his teammate, and A2K is currently half a second behind on the faster compound tire, as these tires, within the next few laps for these 6, 7, 8 runners ahead, are going to begin to feel some tire wear impact their race. So those mediums are going to go a little bit longer. And there's a ton of switching going on through this grid now. All of these tire strategies and drivers getting comfortable with the circuit now. Gaps are starting to come down on this tower. You can see Kai Bacchini has pitted. Where's he going to come out here? They're getting a new wing on that Mercedes. He's fitted the hards. Excuse me, it's not the hards. And there's a safety car deployed. What happened? Where was it that we had an issue that caused a safety car? Nobody's out.
I think it's going to be Moen in the Racing Point. Is the only... I don't know, though. I didn't see a single stationary car out on track.
Guy Bacchini is going to be happy about that, as he is now exited on a fresh set of mediums. He is now letting cars go through ahead of him here, I believe, because there's some kind of glitch with the pit lane and penalties that we were made aware of course, ahead of this race. Maxim has just taken a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car.
So I think the thing with the pit lane here, especially under safety car, is that a lot of there's a long exit that isn't actually the pit lane. It's just the part of the track where you're not allowed to cross the white line into, because it's on that long right-hander of turn 2. If you come out of the pit lane, you have to concede the positions to those who what the game considers overtook during that pit exit. So it can be costly, as we've just seen it be for Kai Bacchini there, who's down now into 15th place. But again, I don't know what caused that safety car. I don't believe it was Moen. It looked like he served the penalty in the pit lane, but he didn't get a new front wing.
It was a very odd deployment. We had no retirement sparking it. Still have a full 20 driver grid at the moment. And now we have a multitude of penalties coming across. And I want to say, like, we have been made aware of a glitch with the safety car, especially in Vietnam. But I have to say, I don't think Maxim's penalty was related to that. Because it was just a simple speeding under the safety car glitch. So it could be that it was, just straight up missing the delta.
So looking at the race director, Jack S. got a warning for a serious collision, it looks like, with another driver. It was, collision with Jasko. Jack has got a warning with just before that was on lap 6, and then speedy under safety car penalties coming out in lap 7. So maybe it was that, but it doesn't look like there was anything other than that. But I can see that would have caused the safety car here.
Well, Cjos has now caught the safety car. Maxim and Yasko both drive-through penalties. And I am not entirely sure if it was as a result of speeding during safety car, which is what we were told it was, So we'll have to see onboards for that, just to see what precisely caused these things. Because those are penalties that you would normally see received under a safety car, regardless of a glitch.
Undertaker has a drive-through as well. He must get it right at the start of the safety car.
Squid has taken a penalty for ignoring a yellow flag. Not entirely sure how that was handed down, as he's currently, well, all by his lonesome.
Yeah, again, maybe the pit exit, he has just pitted for fresh soft in that Williams, so maybe he's going to have some serious pace, especially with a few guys out on hards in front of him. But most opting for the medium tyres, apart from the likes of Wisp, Gadwin, and Yasko, who have all opted to stay out on these 7-lap old mediums that they started the race on.
It's a very interesting strategy choice from them. We've seen some very interesting strategy choices from Gadwin as a regular occurrence, and he has been very crafty in his strategies. That's the word I'd like to use.
Jasko's been disqualified from the session for ignoring a yellow flag, despite the fact that he was in the pit lane.
Well, that is extremely bizarre. It's also possible that he hasn't actually been disqualified, as he is still going, but maybe when he leaves that pit lane, we're going to see that car disappear. I really hope that's not the case, because I've seen disqualifications come up on race control before. We'll have to see if he is in fact actually out of this race, or if it was just a race control glitch that we've seen previous. It looks as though he is still in control, so he is here with us still, thankfully, so he has not been disqualified, and he has popped out just ahead of Extreme in 20th.
What a weird glitch that was. Very worrying for a driver to be disqualified from ignoring yellow safety flags in the pit lane under safety car rules. So,
as we said at the beginning of this cast, it is the first time we have had the experience and the opportunity to do a Hanoi/Vietnam GP full-blown league race here, and you know, full 20 drivers, damaged safety cars, the whole 9 yards, and we're getting a real good idea of what is and what isn't wrong in you know, these 50% league racing format rounds that we host. And well, hopefully we don't see the same multitude of glitches and bugs in other circuits, and maybe we can see some solutions to these things soon. That would be lovely. But of course, safety car is going to be coming in, and CJOS is your current race leader on the fresh mediums. Wisp and Gadwin, who have yet to pit, behind him in second and third, as well as Maxim B, his teammate, in fourth. Kai Bacchini in fifth, who was on pole position, who got into the pit lane just as the safety car had been deployed, so very fortunate opportunity for him.
yeah, he picked up wing damage at the right time in that Mercedes, but it looks like we are going to go green flag racing again. And that is Kai Bacchini looking up the inside of Maxime B into turn 1. He has passed the Alfa Romeo. He's going to have to hold it through turn 2. Just about. He's a little bit wider though than the Alfa Romeo, but he's far enough ahead. His teammate Jay.
Crampy is struggling there because Jay has made it through on the inside of the Alfa Romeo on this restart.
Looks like Crampy might be trying to come back into turn 6 there, but he's not going to have the pace to do it. And obviously DRS not enabled yet. Obviously we've just had the restart. A2K past the Haas of Max Ingster. Can he hold it around the inside as the Haas looks past him? So Haas not looking too strong of the restart here, as all the drivers have been re-bunched up. But you can already see gaps starting to form. And C just had an excellent start.
Liam's going for a move on Skybits. Into the hairpin. On the inside is the Red Bull. We've seen this move all afternoon / evening wherever you may be joining us. Of course, that is Liam getting out in front of Skybits, but that's Squid looking at these two racers, and he's looking for a move on the outside. It was 3 wide for just a moment there as the Williams gets out through and makes a double overtake. Lovely stuff. Into 11th is the Williams.
Yeah, Maxime B came under a little bit of pressure from Jay as well into that hairpin. Wasn't quite successful in the Mercedes.
Oh, and Maxim has gone into the pit lane now to serve that drive-through penalty, as has Yasko. So both of the racers taking those drive-through penalties now gonna get dropped all the way to the back, and Yasko was already there, but of course Maxim might have, well, never mind. He has also dropped very far back, but he has come out ahead of Yasko, of course, by, I think it's going to be a significant margin. But meanwhile, Kaibachini hunting down the Finn that is the Red Bull. Gadwin in 3rd position, up the inside, wheel to wheel through the turn. So far so good, so far so clean, as Kai makes it through on the Red Bull.
Oh, that's a yellow flag. What has gone on here? It's A2K off at turn 6 and 7. Doesn't look like we've got a safety car. He has recovered the car. He's not out of this race. Not quite sure what happened there, but it did allow a few people to come through. Squid now up to 9th place on those fresh softs. He's looking very dangerous off of this restart.
Max Inkster's AI here has been causing some issues for a lot of these racers, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on with it, but Skybits is now in 12th as Liam and Adrian are battling. Liam's in 10th, Adrian 11th, and Skybits seems to be struggling on these hard compound tires at the moment, as you see him sliding around there into these S's.
Moen just lost out on 3 places into the hairpin. Him and Jack S were going side by side, but he was forced a little bit wide, and he dropped not only to Jack but also to Robbo and Extreme in the Williams there. Undertaker coming in to serve his drive-through penalty. I believe he's the only remaining driver with one after that safety car.
Extreme looking for a move on Robbo down into turn 1 in this fight for 14th position. It seems to be very easy for the Williams, except later on the brakes is the racing point. Extreme gets it done on the inside.
Kaibachini in the Mercedes looking up the inside of the Alpha Tauri. That is Wisp. He's on those old medium tires compared to the Mercedes fairly fresh mediums, and around the outside goes the number 44 Mercedes, but he hasn't convincingly got the move stuck. But the Alpha Tauri has to give a little bit of space into what is turn 9, because there is that wall there, and if he hadn't eased off there, that would have been Kai into the wall and subsequently into that Alpha Tauri.
Skybits now, he's going to have that DRS open, heading down into this hairpin, and we have seen these two battling.
Crash into turn 7, and Wisp has somehow managed to recover that after being rear-ended quite hard by the Red Bull of Gadwin. Sorry to interrupt there, but I thought that was going to be a lot worse than it ended up being.
That is totally okay, as I'm sure if it was a massive collision, we would have wanted to see it. Gadwin in 6th. We'll have to take a look at that front end, see if he's got any damage.
Yeah, Gadwin and Jay have both suffered end plate loss. I don't know if Crampy got involved in that as well. You can see Little there. He's already passed the Red Bull.
Oh,
Wisp,
it's a
Jay
train of cars
into the
in.
pits.
Big train of cars into the pit lane now. 4. Wisp, Jay, Crampy, and Gadwin all coming in. And we've just had a safety car. That is now Kaibachini is in 2nd. And 4.6 is the gap behind Sejoss. Sejoss on the 2-lap fresher or medium compound tires. Squid on the softs. Looking at Little Bear in 3rd at the moment in this Sector 1 section of the circuit. DRS wide open now for the Williams.
And we were saying his qualifying strategy was incredibly risky, but so far it's been working out rather brilliantly for that Williams driver. Now into a podium position after overtaking the McLaren, who might come back here up the inside. Doesn't look like those hard tires are going to have the grip. But Squid now from 19th to 3rd place after 13 laps here around the Hanoi Street Circuit here in Vietnam.
Little Bear, I think we're going to see a move from him once again on Squid here, as there's an exchange of positions there down the grid. I think that is Undertaker and Wisp. Little Bear not able to catch up to the Williams just yet, but it's a wheel-to-wheel battle with Wisp and Undertaker still here. And we saw Undertaker fighting very hard through this section of circuit with Skybits earlier. Now he is on the outside, further ahead into the hairpin, but that AlphaTauri driver with a fantastic hug of the inside curbing with a good exit, but it's just not enough. Undertaker with just so much power at the moment in that Renault. They're wheel-to-wheel through into Sector 3 now, and this is just fantastic racing from this Renault and AlphaTauri.
Yeah, and one person who's actually benefited quite nicely from that incident we saw into the hairpin is Maxime B. He's just breezed past Extreme there, down the long straight with DRS. He's now back up into 9th place after serving that drive-through penalty, because obviously a lot of the front runners had to come in for fresh wings. So he now sitting in 9th place, looking pretty strong. There's a few drivers ahead of him on slower hard compound tyres, so he might be able to gain even more positions if he can catch them before the next pit window opens.
Skybit staying in the DRS of that Red Bull. That is Liam ahead of him. A2K setting the fastest lap of the race thus far, 1:38.178 the time from the Ferrari. As that annoying interval glitch continues to frustrate, I'll say. Max Inkster continuously jumping to the top and to the bottom of the grid here in this one, given his glitch. Not entirely sure what happened there, but of course we'll review post-race. Now Liam with a smooth move on Little Bear. And it is now the Red Bull into 5th position. Skybits and his teammate, the Red Bull into 4th position. As of course, reading that timing tower can get confusing with Max Inkster flying around.
Yeah, and it does look like everyone's sort of... Oh, and that's Undertaker very sideways out of the hairpin. We saw him earlier. We do think he's running a low downforce setup, and he is missing an end plate as well on that Renault. There's Wisp ahead of him. He's just got past the Renault now on the back of Moen in that racing point. Wisp on these fresh soft compound tyres, looking to get past the Minas, and Moen dives into the pits. That camera angle there makes it look very, very odd. I thought he was flying into the wall. I hadn't think but...
Yes, of course, he was going into the wall. No, the pit lane on this circuit, if I do say so myself as someone that does participate in league racing, I'm not a fan of the pit lane here at all. And I don't think any of these drivers can be, especially given how it runs coming out of that first few turns here in Hanoi. Jackass getting a little slippy on the rear in the Renault. Maxim having a look at him. He's going to have a good exit overtake as well. And I believe we're going to see DRS from the Alfa Romeo, but he may not even need it. He is already ahead just with the battery usage alone. And what's it going to be coming into the hairpin? Are we going to see any kind of defensive move from Jackass here? He looks at the inside, maintains position behind the Alfa Romeo, hugging that inside curbing, as not too much going on right now. Wisp looking so quick, still flying up through this grid in that AlphaTauri. Robbo is the next target.
And Maxime B is absolutely flying right now on those medium compound tyres. His next couple targets, all 3 of the cars ahead are on hard compound tyres. So Maxime, if he can outpace the DRS advantage. Did he clip the wall there? He's not been damaged if he did. But he needs to regain the positions he lost via that drive-through. But he could still be on for a very good finish.
Oh, and Robbo has braked going in through turns 22 and 23. And Wisp, who was looking fantastic there on the rear, just waiting for the straight to come, was a little too close. Big time end plate damage for Wisp there, as he has just pitted onto those soft compound tires due to wing damage. And I can guarantee that he is going to be pissed off about that, but he is nonetheless going to have that DRS and overtaking opportunity on the racing point here. But that end plate missing is going to impact him.
It's the AlphaTauri of Juicebox facing the wrong way.
Oh no.
In turn 8 and 9, he needs to get out of that track before his teammate comes through.
Oh, and very close for Wisp and Robbo as they fly ahead of Adrian. But Jay, on these medium compound tires, is going to be happy because now he has DRS on the AlphaTauri, and he is in that Mercedes, and he, am sure, after 2 wins so far this season, is going to be wanting to close that gap between him and his teammate and perhaps move through some traffic. Of course, counting our present lap, we have 13 laps remaining.
Yeah, and the beginning half, pretty much, of this race has been nothing but entertaining. Jay on the back of Adrian in that AlphaTauri. He's got a damaged front wing, and have they both got damage to their front wing? So
I think at this point, most of this grid is going to be running with a little bit of damage, and that is Adrian diving into the pit lane now. Jay into 12th position.
And meanwhile, at the top of this race, Joss and Kai Bacchini absolutely running away with it. The gap to third is 10.1 seconds. And that's Squid on fairly old soft compound tyres now. So that Williams gonna pit soon, and he's gonna drop down the order. Obviously, most other drivers probably gonna have to pit off of those mediums that are around 8 laps old right now, presumably to another set of softs, I would think, whether they can stretch them to the end. Obviously, tyre strategy around this circuit, like we said at the beginning, not too confident as to what can go where. But I would imagine Skybits and his teammate, Little Bear, in the Team McLarens, currently sitting 5th and 6th, should be good to the end on those hard compound tyres.
Such position changes here in this one. Of course, I'm going to have to wait for Max Singster to drop off the top of the grid in order to go through it. You see there, Joss up 2 positions. Kai Bacchini has dropped off pole position. Squid is up 16 positions in that Williams right now. He started second last in this one. Liam has maintained 4th position. Skybits is up 3 slots. Maxim has dropped down 5 positions, while Little Bear in 6th there has maintained his posting. Coming out of qualifying, Jack S up 6 slots. Extreme, who also started at the back for Williams, into 9th position. So the Williams squad doing solid work today. And Wisp rounding off your top 10. He has moved up a couple of positions, but now he's coming into the pit lane once again for a wing change. As Robbo, Jay, Jasko, Gadwin, A2K, Undertaker, Mo, and Crampy, and Max Singster all still in this race. Excuse me, Max Singster not. He is bugged out as we see Liam and Squid. Liam finally catching up with the Williams in that Red Bull. He is on the different tires, but it's going to be a fight from the Williams.
And this is an interesting one as well, because Liam, those medium compound tires are anything but young, and so are Squid soft. So right now, Liam does seem to have the pace through the corners, because the mediums can obviously last longer than the softs, but neither tire gonna be lasting too much longer. I would expect to see Squid pit in the next 1 or 2 laps for probably another set of softs if he can manage it. But Liam on those medium compound tires, he's gonna have to pit soon as well, I should think.
This is absolutely great for Skybits right now in 6th position, because Skybits, he has a solid gap away from his teammate right now in 6th. Or 5th, excuse me, as Max Singster keeps creeping up in there. But of course, both of these racers, I don't believe we're going to see them go to the end at all. And there it is, Squid blinking first between those two, and he's into the pit lane. Skybits on the 9-lap old hards, about to cross onto their 10th lap of use. He is into 4th.
Pits as well.
Okay, so Seajoss going to the end on softs, it would seem. Very interesting strategy from him. Kai Bacchini on the 12-lap old mediums. This is going to be very interesting coming down to the wire, what these drivers going long on these tires decide to do.
Jasko receives a 5-second penalty for spinning in the pit lane. To be honest, I'm surprised we haven't seen more of those, given that high-speed entry to the pit lane here. But Kai Bacchini now with a 14-second lead. Probably going to have to pit off of these mediums at some point, whether he's going to hope for a second safety car, or whether he's just going to hope for the best and try and push as hard as he can to bring out what is now a 15-second gap between him and Liam. Liam as well probably going to have to pit. So his biggest rival right now is Seajoss, who is 3rd on those fresh softs. He will be going to the end on those if all goes well.
It's going to be very interesting to see what happens to those softs versus these hards, because I think those softs are just barely going to make it to the end for him with the pace he needs in order to maintain a position against these hards, because I think these hards at this point for Skybits can maintain until the end, but of course that pace difference is going to be crucial. Liam and Sejoss exchanging positions. Sejoss with so much traction on those softs. Liam just he can't even defend against this, and Skybits is going to be creeping very close as well. Are we going to see him into the pits? Yes. So it's the Red Bull now blinking, but he's taken a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane, which is something you'd never like to see in these races. But that is going to be Skybits into third position, perhaps on for his second podium this season.
Yes, Kai Bacchini onto the fresh softs. He's going to come out in, I believe, 5th place here. Yeah, for sure. Oh wait, he may have got them at round turn 2. That pit lane exit so quick, and that means he's now back into the podium positions. Can he?
This is bad news for Skybits now, I think, because I think if Kai Bacchini gets ahead of Skybits, those two soft runners are going to have a DRS train all day, and Skybits is going to have a problem, because now he's going to lose some pace on those older hard compound tires, and you just see the amount of speed, no overtake, no DRS coming out of this car. It's astonishing. And there it is, the smooth overtake into third from Kai, or into second, excuse me, from Kai. As the audio seems to bug as we go down into this hairpin. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there, but Little Bear under threat now from Maxim. And Liam has made a move ahead of Jack S coming down through into the hairpin. We're seeing a good exchange of positions here on lap 20. A multitude of different tire wear and strategies coming through on the board, and Juicebox now on the mediums has been overtaken. Oh, and it is a three-way battle on the straight right now for 14th. That is Adrian coming down in front on the outside into the turn. That is going to be Extreme on the inside through the hairpin. Juicebox coming off a little bit. And that's Undertaker in the mix as well. And this is just a very tight battle through here. And you see Undertaker still wheel to wheel with Adrian, a.k.a. Juicebox. Of course, he's got both names for us to see today.
Skybits and Little Bear staying out on the hards again on these
Undertaker has pit now. And he has pit. Let's take a look at the pit stops, Unicorn. We have had a massive amount of pit stops here in this race. I believe now this is going to be Undertaker's third pit stop, if I'm not mistaken. Jack S, his teammate, also in the pits, which is going to cause Undertaker some time. You can see now they're a little slow going here, getting that wing change. So he's looking for a new wing, and Jack S, his teammate, had just come in. So very unfortunate for Undertaker.
Yeah, so the race director a little bit bugged in terms of what tire compound people are going for. Oh wait, no, maybe not. But there's only 3 people who've only pitted twice in this race. Everyone else, 3 or 4 stops, apart from Moen, who's pitted 5 times in this race so far. He's done in last. But yeah, a lot of pit stops so far, apart from those on those hard compound tires. So whether that lack of a extra pit stop, or 2 in some cases, is gonna benefit them, it is right now, but we've got a lot of people on fresh softs behind them. The likes of Liam, he's on a very good strategy. If he can catch those 2 McLarens, he should be able to overtake them fairly easily, but he's only got 6 laps to do so, and currently the gap is 6 seconds and about 11 seconds to the second one for him. So he's got his work cut out, but he could get a podium here.
Things have spaced themselves out very far up and down this grid as Robbo has come into the pit lane now. Let's see what kind of tires he jumps onto. Gadwin into 9th in the points, which is very nice for these Red Bulls.
One person
Gadwin is going to, I think, sorry to interrupt, Unicorn, I think he's going to have to worry about maybe Wisp. Maybe, I don't know, 7.1 seconds he may be safe, but of course penalties are going to play a role here in this one as well.
Yeah, and like you were just saying, he's on 9-lap-old hard with softs behind him, but Jay, he's got a couple of sets of fresh softs behind him. Obviously, we've seen him win the past 2 races. He's now sitting on 9-lap-old mediums. He's not going to have the pace towards the end of this race compared to Maxime B behind him, and even Squid possibly. So it'll be interesting to see where he finishes. It doesn't look like it's going to be another 25 points to add to his tally at the end of this race.
Jackass on these fresh softs now, fighting with Juicebox. Very, very tight, these two cars. Jackass looking for a space to slip through here. Juicebox leaves him space. And Juicebox has a fantastic exit, but is it going to be enough against the softs? Those mediums holding well right now for the AlphaTauri, but it's going to be Jack with so much traction on the exit sliding through there. Very nicely done. Meanwhile,
bring himself into DRS range.
So he is in DRS range.
See Joss. The timing tower is completely wrong. It's definitely not 1.6 seconds behind these cars. As Kai Bacchini looking for the lead of this race, both on very similar tires. That's the Ferrari of Jasko. Or is it? Yeah, Jasko is into the wall and sector 3, but it is now Kai Bacchini into the lead of this race. Again, down into that hairpin. We've seen so many people make that move. But like I said, they're both on identical tires pretty much, so it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top come the end of this race. But Kai Bacchini has been putting in some very solid lap times in that Mercedes.
Yes, he has, and as I anticipated, they have pulled a massive gap out from that hard-running McLaren and Skybits on these softs. 11.8 seconds, almost 12 seconds, and they are going to have DRS the whole way through here on one another, I do believe. And it's going to make it extremely difficult for Skybits, but if he's able to maintain his standing position, it looks as though him and Little Bear have really nailed down strategy here, and it could be a 3-4 for the McLaren team. Liam, though, if he's got anything to say about it, he's going to want to slip between them. He's in 5th at the moment on those fresh softs, and it's less than a second between him and P4 at the moment.
Yeah, coming into the closing stages of this race, it is really gives you an idea about whose tyres are good for the end, whereas a lot of people are going to be struggling. That's another yellow flag. That's another Ferrari. It's Jasko again as he hits the wall trying to spin his car around. That front wing is completely battered. Ferrari now. They might even finish in the last 2 spots as A2K gets past the Racing Point of Moen, but they are not having a good day in the office. Liam now looking at the McLaren of Little Bear up the inside through turn 8 and through turn 9. He is out there.
That's good news for Little Bear. He has DRS on the Red Bull because now he is out of overtake. He's going to be able to use that DRS hopefully to coast ahead of this Red Bull. They are both out of battery. And there's a retirement. That's Yasko coming into the pit lane, and his race has now come to an end here on lap 24. Little Bear and Liam fighting very hard. Little Bear, of course, is on the very slow tire, that 15-lap-old hard compound versus this much fresher, quicker rubber compound tire, that soft red-rimmed set. And Liam is into 4th position as he is now going to be looking to hunt down a 6-second gap to Skybits ahead with 4 laps remaining here.
Yeah, Liam, he's going to have his work cut out as that's another yellow flag. This time it's Wisp, I think, in the AlphaTauri. Yeah, out of the hairpin. He's a little bit pinned as well because he's got to wait for that red Renault of Jack S there to come past.
The wing damage very, very tough on some of these racers today. And we've seen Wisp struggle a little bit. He's pit multiple times today as well. You can see there. He's pit twice. Whereas a couple of these, well, actually, a lot of these racers have pit twice. When you look at it, it's not your typical race where you see them pit once, you know, or twice if you have a safety car. Most people have pit twice. And we've seen people come in even now for 3 times. Wisp entering the pit lane once again. So it is going to be 3 for Wisp. But things have definitely spread themselves out here. It took a while. But you can see there the gap to leader. Currently 134 from Moen all the way into first there. Now, there is only 18 drivers remaining, as Max Inkster, although he is being shown in 9th at the moment, is not currently running in this race. He has encountered some kind of lobby bug or something. But all of these other racers, fortunately, able to carry on through here. And you can see now, Kai Bacchini, in comparison to Sejoss, I thought that DRS train was just going to carry on, but Kai Bacchini showing a lot of pace in comparison, and he could be on Unicorn, knock wood, fingers crossed, for his first win here, MRL Tier 2 of the season. And you'd love to see it considering he was so quick in Australia, but he had that issue coming outside of turn 16.
Yeah, like you said, he's looked strong since the start of the season, but he hasn't been able to... He's looked particularly strong in qualifying, but he hasn't been able to translate that directly into race pace. Now, Liam is catching Skybits in that McLaren. He's now approaching back markers, and obviously that means Skybits is doing it as well. So they're going to get DRS here along the straights. That's A2K in the Ferrari. The thing is, Liam is catching through sectors 3 and 1, where all the corners are, but when it's sector 2, like you said earlier, it's basically just one long straight, so the tyre advantage, obviously a little bit of a better exit, but that only does so much when the straight's nearly a mile long, so... And that's the racing point of, I think, this Moen. He caused the yellow flag. Don't know what happened, but
A2K, that back marker now. Liam has dispatched him, and it is now on to the McLaren ahead. So there's no longer a car separating them, as A2K doing a good job of obeying the blue flags. Now, for those of you that are tuning in, of course, thank you very much. We're glad you're enjoying the race. My name is Strifium. Joining me as always is Unicorn in the booth. And we are going to be live once again in just 40 minutes time, or 45 minutes or so, for Tier 1 racing. This has been our Tier 2 race. Now our Tier 1 drivers are going to be jumping into the Vietnam circuit as well. And we'll have to see how they go. And joining me for that will be Mikau in the commentary booth as we get set for that. But of course it is Kai Bacchini leading this race, Sejoss in second, and Skybits under threat from Liam in third. And it is a fight for the podium positions now, as Liam has just so much speed, and Skybits, he could be in very serious trouble here.
And there's another battle on track, obviously not for quite as many points, but the two Williams squid under pressure into turn 1, as Extreme on the inside gets his teammate into turn 1 there. Both of them exceptional races from the two last spots on the grid. And now they're both in the points. As Liam comes back past the McLaren into the hairpin. He's gone very, very late on the brakes, but he's just about made it. Another time was on exit though.
Touch of contact from Skybits on the rear of that Red Bull as well. Fortunately for him, he did not lose an end plate, but they have that back marker of A2K, excuse me, catching up with them. Maxim in 5th at the moment, 6.8 seconds behind. Still a lap to go here as Kai Bacchini crosses through in 1st. As we're now on the final lap of this race, and the Mercedes is your race leader currently, almost 6 seconds ahead of the next nearest driver, and that is Sejoss in 2nd position, rounding through that first section now, just outside that pit exit. And you see Liam very clearly out in front of Skybits now. He has pulled almost a second gap. Skybits just maintaining DRS there on the pit straight. And it is now 5.5 the gap from 5th to 4th, and there is a major tire difference. Of course, 19 laps on the hards now for both of these McLarens.
Yeah, unfortunately for Maxime B, you've got to imagine where he'd be without that drive-through penalty that he had to serve, but also then there was that crash into the hairpin, so it might have cost him there. So 5th place for him right now, not too bad given the circumstances of this race, but It would have been very curious to see how this race could have panned out. Without those penalties. Crampy receives a penalty, speaking of. But on this last lap, most people spaced out as Kai Vicini is in that final sector. And Mercedes with 6.2 seconds behind him to the Alfa Romeo of Sejos' closest rival. And he comes round the final corner. And Kai Vicini wins the Vietnam Grand Prix here in MRL Tier 2 after a spell of bad luck in the first few races. Sejos comes home in second place. And DNFs across the line. Well, doesn't DNF, but breaks his car. Liam then, a pretty solid drive from the Red Bull. He's going to come home and place up on where he started. Third place. That's a podium for him. Skybit up 4 places.
Oh, no.
He's dropped a position to Maxime B from penalties. Little Bear coming in 6th.
What a long race. What a long, eventful race this has been, and I'm sure all of these drivers are now extremely
Jedwin
happy.
just came back off Jay on the last turn.
Oh, man. Godwin, very sneaky in that Red Bull. Caught a glimpse. Squid in 10th. Everyone avoiding that car there. So, your top 10 racers here in Tier 2, following the finish of this race, barring any penalties, of course, and post-race reviews, are Kai Vicini with the race win, the first ever MRL Grand Prix taking place here at the Hanoi Circuit. It's the Vietnam Grand Prix for Tier 2, and it goes to Kai in the Mercedes. Sejos in second, Liam rounding off your top 3, and that is your podium. Maxim B in 4th, Skybits in 5th, and Little Bear, his teammate, in 6th. It's a 5-6 for the McLarens. Gadwin in 7th there, and of course we'll finish going down through the grid in just a moment's time. The Williams of Squid there on camera, finishing here in 10th, which is a fantastic feat for him considering he did start in 19th, and his teammate Extreme also started in 20th, and he got the Driver of the Day award. And we have Kai Vicini's driver avatar there on screen, and we're going to jump ahead and look at these standings. Gadwin in 7th there. Very nice from the Red Bull from 13th, excuse me. But yes, Kai in 1st, CJ 2nd, Liam in 3rd, Maxim 4th, Skybits in 5th, Little Bear 6th, Gadwin in 7th, Jay in 8th, being overtaken just near the end by the Finn driver in ahead of him. Extreme in 9th, Squid rounding off your top 10, and you can see there the two Williams started 19th and 20th and finished 9th and 10th. So absolutely amazing. And Kai Vicini, thank you very much for the raid, my man. Very, very, very nice of you to do such a nice thing like that. And congratulations, of course, on the win. Let's take a look at the rest of this grid. Jackass, Robbo, Wisp, Crampy, Juicebox, Max Inkster, Undertaker. And Max Inkster, just for the record, was not able to drive in this race due to a lobby glitch of some kind. So the Scott driver not going to be happy about that. Undertaker, Moen, A2K, and Yasko in this one. And take a look at the incidents real quick so that we have something to go on should anything get reported at the end of this one. Look at all of the stops, all of the different tire choices here. Some drivers had it easy, some not so much. And let's take a look real quick. I want to show you. You have Skybits and Little Bear started 6th and 8th, and I believe they went on the 1-stop. Yes, they did. They went soft hard here in Vietnam, and they proved that it's possible, but of course the 2-stop ended up being a little quicker, given that safety car. Unicorn, thoughts on this one, my friend?
Yeah, obviously, the first time we've really seen Hanoi here in action, in any sense, and I think there was a little bit less carnage, maybe, than I was expecting, a little bit less contact with walls, etc., and that kind of thing. I was expecting, more, maybe a little bit more contact through Sector 3 as well. Obviously, that's a very, very tight section, but everyone did very well to keep it clean. It just goes to show, the skill of these drivers here. But that hairpin really is a prime action spot. Just absolutely brilliant. The run you get into there with that exceptionally long straight towards turn 10, and then the hairpin of turn 11. It's absolutely incredible. A very exciting track to watch. I was worried that maybe it would be a little bit difficult for overtaking, and when overtaking would happen, it would be on the straights, but no. It was a rather entertaining race to watch, and that's all that you can ask for, really. Strategy as well. We only had one safety car, so...
Definitely, yeah, and I believe we're about to get into some interviews with our podium finishers, of course, Kai Bacchini, Joss, and Liam. And what a race that was. We were asked a lot heading into this race this week, I think, at least I was, I'm sure you were too, Unicorn, what the expectations were for these races. And I told everybody, I have none, because I wanted this to just, if I set my expectations too high and, let's see, 16 drivers DNF or something like that, be too impressed. But you know what, considering Vietnam, we had, I believe it was 18 drivers finish this race. Yasko the only retirement, and Max Singster of course bugged in that lobby session. But let's get these interviews underway, as in just 20 minutes time we're going to be live. Well, I think we're just going to stick live straight through into tier 1 action, because that race went quite long, to be fair. Of course, joining us now, your race winner for MRL Season 3 Tier 2 action. Kai Bacchini, how are you doing, my friend? Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm doing great. I mentally feel great about the race, but physically I'm not feeling so good.
Unicorn, what did you think about Kai's race here in Vietnam?
Kai, well, first off, congratulations, finally getting that win. Pole converted into a win. We thought you might be able to do it in Australia, but you finally managed to do it here. You kind of got a little bit lucky. You got that front wing damage, had to pit, but then the safety car came out and that brought you into 5th. From that point on, just talk us through, just before the safety car, what were you thinking? Do you think your race was sort of a little bit over after you came in for that wing damage replacement?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the wing damage is definitely not great, especially when you're leading the race with Joss very close behind me, applying a lot of pressure, and I think that's one of the factors that why I made that mistake. But of course, when I came into the pits and as soon as I was coming out, the safety car came down, so it was a sigh of relief from me, which means that obviously I'd not lose as much time. But with the game, there was a glitch where I came out the pits and I got 3 illegal overtakes somehow. But yeah, I'm very glad that the safety car came out, because I would have lost a lot more time if that hadn't.
Yeah, and like you said, you were close with Joss at the start, but you were close with him at the end when you were both on those fresh softs. But you seem to have a lot of pace towards the end of the race. What was sort of your strategy there? Was it just that you were managing your tyres really well, or what was it? You just seemed to absolutely blitz past the Alfa Romeo there.
I mean, especially on the mediums and the softs, there was a big gap to Joss in front of me. So my mindset was just head down, push as hard as I can. I was literally dripping with sweat hard, through the whole race, because I was pushing so hard, putting all my energy into it, and luckily it was able to pull off at the end.
Yeah, well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Striff, I don't know if you've got any other questions there?
Well, Hanoi now out of the way. It's a big circuit for a lot of racers on the grid. How does it feel to get Hanoi out of the way this early in the season, winning the circuit as well? And, what are your thoughts heading into round 4 next week for, of course, Shanghai?
I mean, I'm very happy that I managed to get a win on Hanoi. Not very experienced around the track, which I'm pretty sure everyone isn't. But again, not one of my favorite tracks. But China ahead of me. It's again not one of my favorite tracks, but hopefully I'm able to pull something out of the bag.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kai, for joining us in the commentary. And again, thank you very much for your raid as well. Very good to see you on the top step after that unfortunate Australian race. And of course, I'm sure after Bahrain as well. So finally getting that win here in round 3. So thank you.
Thank you.
Now going to be taking on our next interview. It is our 2nd place driver, Unicorn. Take it away.
Joss, congratulations. You went 3rd to 2nd there, so 1 position gained during the race. We saw you fairly closely battling with Kai Bacchini, both at the start and the finish. Obviously, he came in for that wing damage and then the safety car hit. So talk us through how that sort of moment, we just heard it from Kai, but let's get it from your point of view because it would have been completely different the other way around.
Yeah, so basically he had the wing damage, and then that lap that he got the wing damage right at the beginning of that lap. So then I was like right on his rear, so we had to pit in, and then I came out of the pits. Well, I came out. Safety car came in, or safety car came out the lap that I just started, so I had to pit that lap. I came out the safety car, and I was in first, and Kai was in like fifth, I think, like 8 or 6 seconds behind me. So I thought I was in a pretty good spot there, and then Kai, with his pace, was able to catch me towards the end and then overtake me in the end.
Yeah, talking of that end bit, was it just Kai's raw pace, or was it sort of a mixture of that and just tire wear, that kind of thing, lack of experience on the track?
Yeah, it seemed like he was catching me a lot after the second roundabout into the long straight, and he was catching me like 4/10 in that straight. So he must have had a setup or something that was aimed towards getting a lot of speed in there. And he also just had a lot of pace. He was saying he was using a lot of overtake throughout the laps, and then once he set the fastest lap that was a second in front of my lap, it seemed like he was gonna catch me soon, and then he just got me right in that straight, and it he just kind of ran away with it after that.
Yeah, and we've seen both you and your teammate do very well at the start of the season. I'm sure you're both feeling pretty confident, not only for both your chances in the Drivers' Championship, but also the Constructors as well. So, are you feeling confident coming out of the first 3 rounds now?
Yeah, for sure. I would have liked to have a better result in Bahrain, obviously, with my overtake button getting stuck open, causing me to crash. But if that hadn't have been a thing, I'd feel more confident, but still, we'll have to see how the standings look after this race, and then, yeah, we're feeling really confident because he had that drive-through, and he still finished 4th, which is a really good result for us and the team.
Yeah, well, that's all I've got. Strifium, you got any other questions here for CJOS?
Bahrain, how did it feel today after Bahrain? That was my biggest question for you because you showed such a difference today, obviously with the podium compared to Bahrain. So just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
It felt a lot better. My biggest thing that I have thought going into this season is to limit my wing damage and penalties, and I did both of those things today, which led to the P2, and I think that led to feeling good in the race and having good enough pace to finish second.
Fantastic. Well, that is it for me. Greatly, appreciate you taking the time to jump in the interview, as well as congratulations on the P2. Very nicely done from you as well.
Thank you.
So then our final podium sitter, Liam. How are you feeling after that race?
It was great. Lap 1, I took it easy, but I got spun down to P20 with wing damage, and the finish in P3.
Yeah, we saw you with a little bit of wing damage throughout a couple of points during that race as well. The safety car was thrown in there. Just talk us through your strategy and how you sort of managed that race.
I was just praying for a safety car after lap 1. I carried on with wing damage after lap 1. My pace wasn't too bad. Then eventually I pitted for mediums, still miles behind everyone. Safety car came out, I didn't pit. It was up to P4 by lap 8 or something. Pitted lap 20 for softs and just got P3.
Yeah, and we saw you go for those softs, and the 2 McLarens on the hards ahead of you. Was there any ever doubt that you were not going to get on the podium because of those, with the time you've got in front of you, or were you confident?
When I came out of the pits, I had no chance, but then I realised they were on really old hards and they had wing damage, both of them. So thankful when the guy in P4 had 3-second penalty.
Yeah, so it's just a case of you just pushing as hard as you could to close that gap, because it was a large gap, but your softs really, and your pace, you nailed it at the end there. So a great result. I'm sure you're feeling pretty good after that.
I am. wasn't a good start to the season, but I'm getting back.
And I wanted to ask you about that. Reigning champion for Tier 2. For those tuning in, Liam, your P3 finisher today is the current reigning Tier 2 champion for MRL following Season 2. So
Hello.
he is not a stranger to the podium and points. However, given the beginning of this season, Liam, I wanted to ask you, DNF in Australia,
Yeah,
P9 in Bahrain, now you're
Yeah.
P3. Now we've seen this graph. You've gone from not finishing to finishing just inside, just etching your way inside the points. Now here you are on the podium. What's next? Are we going to see a race win in China?
Maybe I can get my first win in MRL.
That would be lovely, wouldn't it? Anyway, that is all I wanted to say. Congratulations to you on the P3, of course. We're going to be jumping in for all of you viewing us in just a few minutes' time into some Tier 1 racing action, once again, around the Hanoi circuit. And Liam, thank you very much for taking the time for the interview.
Great race.
It was a great race. And we will be looking forward to China next week as well. Unicorn, any other comments before we jump ahead into Tier 1 in just a few minutes' time?
Yeah, I think we've just about covered everything. I think that was. I think Hanoi there proved that it's an excellent track to watch a race around. Obviously a lot of people struggling with actually driving around it, myself included. But to watch it, that was absolutely a brilliant race. So I look forward to hopefully another good race here in Tier 1 for you and Mikal. But yeah, what an excellent race that was to watch in Tier 2.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the racing action, and if you did, make sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing for more great racing. Of course, you can check us out on Twitch. Every Thursday we have Racing Then, and we're going to have a lot more coming to you soon. Twitter, where you can find all of our updates, and Discord if you're interested in becoming a part of the Misfits community. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.